In this video, we're going to look at Chapter 5 of Headfirst Design Patterns, which talks about the Singleton pattern. In object-oriented languages, a class defines a type, and a variable is a name of a particular instance of that type. Therefore, you typically have multiple objects with the same type in an application. But a singleton pattern is used to create a class, and therefore a type, that has only one object associated with it. It ensures that a class has only one instance. Although this is not the normal case, it can sometimes be useful in object-oriented programs. In fact, it is so useful that some languages have built-in ways that developers can create a singleton object. And for this reason, many developers would call the singleton an idiom rather than a pattern. Remember that an idiom is typically a simple pattern that is specific to a particular language. Here's an example of a singleton object. The class Elvis has only one instance or object associated with it. Multiple variables can refer to that object, but there's only one object of type Elvis. Here's one way to ensure that there is only ever one object created for the class Elvis. First, you have to create a private constructor, as you see here in this class. Then you create a private static final variable called instance that gets initialized by calling that private constructor. The name instance here is used by convention. The variable is static because it belongs to the class. It does not belong to a particular object. The variable is final because once it is assigned to, it cannot be reassigned. Once you have created this variable and assigned the single instance to it, you create a public static method called getInstance, which returns a handle to the instance variable. This allows clients from outside the class to access the single instance. Below the class is an example of how you would use the singleton class. You assign the instance to a variable named Elvis by calling getInstance. Then you can use the normal methods associated with the class on that object. Java 1.5 introduced enumeration types to Java. Enumeration types allow a variable of that type to take on a finite number of values. Effectively, that means that the type only has a finite number of objects that are defined by the names that you give it. For example, a day of the week enumeration type will have 7 objects: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Therefore, another way of implementing a singleton pattern that has become popular in Java is to create an enumeration type with only one value, called instance. This method is simpler than the traditional method. The single instance can be accessed directly by using the name instance. In the language Scala, which is a functional variant of Java, singleton objects can be created even more simply by using the keyword object instead of class. For example, the type Elvis impersonator might be a class in Scala, whereas the type Elvis might be a singleton object. The fact that this kind of mechanism is built into some languages is one reason that many software developers think of the singleton pattern as an idiom rather than a pattern.